So, welcome back to another episode of Reboot. And firstly, my apologies for the delay in replying to your messages and comments. I've just got back from a business trip, and during that business trip, I got to thinking about the dichotomy in my life between the Ben that lives in Cambodia and the Ben that still works in the corporate world. So I thought I would share that on this video. And if it resonates, if you have any thoughts or comments, or you're in a similar situation, I'd love to hear your views in the comments box below. It's kind of a continuation, I guess, from the last subscriber story on the subject of belonging. And talking of subscriber stories, I'd love to receive yours. So if you have any experience in moving to Cambodia, living in Cambodia, good and bad, or any tips and tricks for expats looking to make the move, please drop your submission at the website, and I would love to read it out. And also, if you can put in that submission, if you'd be happy to do an interview, someone suggested that would add an extra layer of interest to these submissions. But I hope you enjoy today's video, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know I don't share much of my backstory, but I've been visiting Hong Kong for the last 25 years. And today, like back then, it's a part of my business, working in consumer electronics. And whilst these days I run a small company of my own, over the years I've been fortunate, to gain experience with some of the best known brands in the industry. I've even lived in Hong Kong and Shenzhen for a time, so it's a place I've come to know well. But this video isn't just about cities, it's more about identity and the tension between who I used to be and who I'm very much trying to become. If I'm honest, given the choice, I'd probably distance myself entirely from my old life, but something still needs to pay the bills. And that tug of war starts every time I step off a plane. Because there are two versions of me that seem to live in parallel. One who thrives in places like Hong Kong, sharp, efficient, focused. The other who seeks something slower, quieter, more grounded, something I found in Cambodia. And whilst these versions aren't at war exactly, that they rarely sit comfortably together. When I land in Hong Kong, the old version of me comes alive. He walks faster, talks faster, schedules everything. Hong Kong moves at a pace that commands your attention. Skyscrapers shimmer with precision, foot traffic flows like clockwork, and there's a digital pulse that never misses a beat. It's efficient, impressive, almost addictive. And yet in the middle of that modernity, I still find the time to carve out a ride on the Star Ferry across the harbour before a meeting. That short crossing, gentle waves, skyline behind me, is how I ground myself. Just a few minutes of stillness before stepping back into the rhythm of business. And that part of me feels proud to be functioning in such a high-performing environment. But within days, the newer part of me starts to resist. He sees the cracks, the way that no one looks each other in the eye unless there's a transaction, the constant presentation of self, the speed that never lets up. I realize how quickly I've been pulled back into a life of performance, of measuring myself by utility, of sharpness, by external metrics. It's not that bad, but it's no longer enough. Over my last few trips, I found myself wandering back streets in Chungwan, drawn to hand-painted signs and handwritten menus, to the worn human textures that haven't yet been paved over. And it's in these places that my newer self feels most at home, quiet, observant, not trying to be anything. But that calm doesn't last long in a city like Hong Kong. The old me starts tightening again. I catch myself checking emails at dinner, skipping breakfast, thinking about the next meeting while halfway through the current one. I become a machine again. Polished, yes, but totally disconnected. And so I leave. Arriving in Cambodia now feels like a confrontation, not with the country, but with myself. As I exit the new airport in Siem Reap, everything feels fresh, modern, promising, but then I hit National Road 6 and reality returns. Garbage on the side of the road, wooden homes with rusted roofs, kids barefoot waving at cars. That sharp, polished version of me blinks, uncomfortable. But the newer part of me exhales, because here life isn't pretending. Cambodia doesn't seduce with shine, it disarms with honesty. It doesn't push me to be better, richer, faster. It asks me to be present. And here's where that internal dialogue begins. One part of me still flinches at the lack of structure, the unpredictability, the slow service, the inefficiency. The other part whispers, this is real, this is human, this is living. It's not always easy, but it's always true. The version of me that shows up in Cambodia is less polished, but more alive. He forgets to check his phone, he learns names, he sits with people longer than he needs to. He doesn't win awards, but he doesn't feel lost either. Cambodia forces me to sit with discomfort, and in doing so, it strips away performance. It reveals how much of my former identity was built around external validation. Here, there's no stage, just life. And that life invites you to participate, not perform. Conversations feel slower, but they matter more. No one's measuring your day by the deals you closed or the time you clocked in. You're valued for being, not producing. Sometimes I walk to the local market just to see the same faces. The vendor who knows I always ask for the same morning coffee. The neighbour who nods without needing to speak. And these small, seemingly insignificant moments stitch together a quiet sense of belonging. Not because I'm trying to prove anything, but just because I've shown up. And over time, that matters more than any polished elevator pitch or LinkedIn endorsement. It's a life that asks me to engage, to notice, to slow down. It's not about erasing ambition, it's about rerouting it, about pursuing a life that feels meaningful, not just impressive. I used to think that I had to choose between these two versions of myself, the sharp, driven operator and the soft, observant wanderer. But I'm learning it's not a binary choice, it's a balance. Hong Kong reminds me of who I used to be and still can be when needed. Cambodia reminds me of who I'm becoming. When I'm in Hong Kong, I sharpen, I produce, I engage with systems that reward speed and precision, but the cost is that I often lose myself in that rhythm. I forget the reasons I left that life in the first place. When I'm in Cambodia, I remember to be still, to listen, to stop chasing. I remember that worth isn't tied to an output, that connection isn't built through efficiency, but through presence. And yet the old me doesn't fully disappear. He shows up now and again, frustrated by power cuts, annoyed at bureaucracy, restless with the slower pace. But the new me smiles at that frustration because it means I'm still growing, still integrating. So the real question isn't whether Cambodia is better than Hong Kong. The question is, where do I feel most like myself? And the answer for now is here in Cambodia. Not because it's easier, but because it's more honest. I'll keep traveling, I'll keep doing business in polished places, but I now know that those places are not where I'll be defined.